Hello there, folks. Patrick Stewart, thank you so much for tuning back into my channel. Hope you've been staying nerdy with it. Today we're going to do something a little bit different. So welcome back. We're going to get into the top 10 things you didn't know about the movie The Crow, starring Brandon Lee.
And I say I'm dead, and I move.
Before we go any further, don't forget, do me a favor. Hit that like button, give me a thumbs up. If you find value in the content, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the notification bell, that way you know when the videos drop. And I do want to give a special shout out to Jeremy Branch over at Movies Are Terrible. Y'all go check out his terrible apparel. He's got some nice Crow shirts, really fly, really good quality shirts. Go check him out. I've got a link to his channel in the description below. And I've got a link to a video where I did a collaboration with him on none other than the movie The Crow. So, let's get into this thing. We're going to count it down. Number 10. So number 10 thing that you probably did not know about the movie. We're going to deal with the tragedy of Brandon Lee himself, as his untimely death at such a young age by a misfire of a prop gun on set that ended up killing him. Despite common misconceptions, the common rumor out there is that Brandon Lee's death scene was left in the movie for authenticity. This could not be further from the truth. Brandon Lee's death was not left in the movie. There could be nothing more distasteful than leaving the death of an actor filmed on camera in a movie for his spouse and children to see after they have to, mourn his loss. That would just be, that'd be nasty. That'd be horrible. And James O'Barr, creator of The Crow, fine gentleman, would never have allowed that. Alex Proyas, Michael Massey, the actor that unfortunately wielded that gun, none of them celebrated that. That is not something they would have left in the film.
Don't be a moron.
So please, 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 if you are among those who believe the urban legend that Brandon Lee's death can be seen in the film, I cannot tell you how many times I have sat down and watched The Crow with somebody, and they will turn around and ask me, "Hey, Patrick, is that's the scene he just got shot, isn't it?" And it's like,
don't be a moron.
No, that's not it. And there's so many different scenes that so many people ask me about, wondering if that's the scene he died. No, absolutely not. Brandon Lee, rest in peace. Number 9, regarding Brandon Lee, there is a famous quote given in his last on-camera interview.
Because we do not know when we will die, we get to think of life as an inexhaustible well. And yet everything happens only a certain number of times, and a very small number, really. How many more times will you remember a certain afternoon of your childhood, an afternoon that is so deeply a part of your being that you can't even conceive of your life without it? Perhaps 4 or 5 times more, perhaps not even that. How many more times will you watch the full moon rise? Perhaps 20, and yet it all seems limitless.
Now, it goes without saying that philosophy of life helped inform my life after being impacted in such a large way on my favorite movie of all time, The Crow. And but that quote is actually, though it is attributed to Brandon Lee, it does not belong to Brandon Lee. It belongs to a gentleman named Paul Bowles. Paul Bowles was the author of The Sheltering Sky, and to put the quote in context, this is what it actually says. Death is always on the way, but the fact that you don't know when it will arrive seems to take away from the finiteness of life. It's that terrible precision that we hate so much. But because we don't know, we get to think of life as an inexhaustible well. Yet everything happens a certain number of times, and a very small number, really. How many more times will you remember a certain afternoon of your childhood? Some afternoon that's so deeply a part of your being that you can't even conceive of your life without it. Perhaps 4 or 5 times more? Perhaps not even. How many more times will you watch the full moon rise? Perhaps 20? And yet it all seems limitless. This quote is, of course, on the tomb of Brandon Lee himself, who is laid to rest next to his father, Bruce Lee. Years and years ago, when I was still in the military, I had the privilege of being able to travel to Seattle and actually go see Brandon Lee. All right, moving on. Next one, number 8. The first spoken word in the movie by Eric Draven is Gabriel. Gabriel is a white cat who Gabriel, of course, being the biblical figure and archangel who delivered heavenly messages and visions to those that would hear. The purpose of the cat, the white cat Gabriel, in this particular instance would be to signify the divine vision and mission that Eric Draven receives It is when he touches the cat that he receives his first flashbacks and memories to the gruesome, gruesome murder of himself and his fiancée Shelley on Devil's Night, the night before Halloween. This is the first time that we see the flashback power Eric Draven has throughout the movie, and it's a very, very good device that we continue to use in order to fill in some backstory as the movie unfolds. So it lays out some rules. And speaking of rules, moving into number 7. Eric Draven's powers are explained to him by a character deleted from the film. You can only find in deleted scenes, named Skull Cowboy. Skull Cowboy meets Eric Draven in the graveyard and informs him that his powers of undead, unstoppability, invincibility are strictly to wreak vengeance upon those who murdered himself and his fiancée a year ago. That is his purpose. Any other power that he expends beyond meting out vengeance upon those 4 people actually drains him of said invincibility, which we will get into on number 6. Number 6, the iconic tape on the arms and tape on the belly. Iconic look, everyone knows it, everyone duplicates it that dresses up as the Crow on Halloween, especially back in the 90s and early 2000s, myself included. In the scene where Eric Draven kills Funboy, before that he has an interaction with Darla, Sarah's mother.
Look. Mother is the name for God on the lips and hearts of all children. Morphine is bad for you. Your daughter is out there on the streets waiting for you.
And he delivers the famous quote, and then he uses some of his power to eject the drugs and poison from her system. At which moment, that razor that Darla has, Funboy actually picks up and attacks Eric Draven. And because he has expended some of his powers beyond just his vengeance mandate, he actually is vulnerable and gets cut up in his abdomen and arms by Funboy before he's able to subdue Funboy and kill him. As a result, he ends up having to tape himself up with electrical tape. And that's where the iconic look comes from that you see after the first fight with Tintin, where it's just the black shirt, and the fight with Funboy, where again it's just the black shirt. Those scenes were left out, thankfully or unthankfully. I don't think the movie is any less for it, but Brandon Lee thought the look was absolutely cool, absolutely amazing, that they decided going forward they were going to keep dressing up, and they just stuck with it for the rest of the film. Let's get into some other characters. Moving on to something you didn't know about The Crow, number 5. Character actor Michael Wincott, aka Top Dollar, voiced the Dark Rider in Darksiders, and who is Death, an actor in The Count of Monte Cristo, one of my all-time favorite and Holden Hardman's all-time favorite films. And he also was in Disney's version of Three Musketeers. Michael Wincott is a very accomplished swordsman and fencer. Brushed up on his fencing skills in preparation for The Crow. And in the movie, you see him pull his sword out and kill Gideon, one of his pawn shop henchmen.
You know, you're directly out of your fucking mind. You know that?
Yeah.
And the sword that he wields in said scene is none other than the sword.
He slept a year before he was done.
Oh yeah, completely unrelated to the film. But there's you a little gee whiz fact right there. Number 4, thing you didn't know about The Crow. Actor David Patrick Kelly, who plays T-Bird, studied up on the occult in preparation for his role, and he purchased a book called Paradise Lost by John Milton. In the flashback scenes where you see him reading the book to Shelley before they rape and murder her, unfortunately, that book is actually the property of David Patrick Kelly. He is reading from his own book.
Abashed, the devil stood. Does it get you sweating?
Which is the second most expensive prop in the entire film. Alright, so moving on to number 3. Another actor in the film, Michael Massey, who plays the part none other than Funboy, was originally supposed to be played by the rock musician Iggy Pop. But Iggy Pop had some conflicts of schedule, was unable to make the filming, and he did star in the sequel to The Crow, Crow City of Angels. The actor Michael Massey, playing Fun Boy, actually modeled himself after rocker Iggy Pop in order to keep the look kind of the same what they were going for. Kind of cool that they went ahead and brought Iggy Pop back into the sequel, so we essentially got Fun Boy 2.0. Moving on to number 2. Actors, or in this case body doubles, stunt doubles. We have a gentleman named Chad Stahelski. Chad Stahelski was the stand-in for Brandon Lee and did the stand-in scenes for Brandon Lee after his untimely demise. And Chad Stahelski is actually none other than co-creator and director of the franchise known as John Wick. Rather strange turn of events, but John Wick, of course, being a story about a man who has lost his wife and is now on the road to vengeance to kill all of those who have wronged him. Maybe a little bit of The Crow rubbed off there, maybe it didn't, I don't know. But either way, Chad Stahelski, great vision in John Wick, and we can see where he got his starts there way long time ago with The Crow. Moving on to number 1. There are no crows anywhere in the movie The Crow. All of the images you see of the crows are actually ravens. Ravens are much easier to train than crows, a lot less feisty and irritable. And the animal handlers actually used ravens, 5 different ravens, in fact, for all of those scenes that we see in the movie with the crow. Never has really bugged me. I mean, I knew there were ravens when I saw them, but I was like, man, those are some big crows. Crows aren't that big. But, it never bugged me. I'm cool with it. We see it for what it is. It's an image of a crow, and we go with it. There you have it. Those are 10 facts about the crow that I hope that you didn't already know, and now you do. And if you did know, it was nice talking to you about the crow. But thank you so much for tuning into my channel again. My name is Patrick Stewart. Go check out Jeremy Branch's channel. Check out his t-shirts. In the meantime, stay nerdy with it.